When I first got a GameCube, it came with a game called The Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition, which has the first two Zelda games, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and a Wind Waker demo. The first one I played was Majora's Mask, but didn't really get far since I couldn't read at the time. Years later, I decided to give it another shot, and I enjoyed playing it. I believe I actually have replayed it more than Ocarina of Time. You've read the title, so you know what I'll be reviewing in this video. So let's get into it. Majora's Mask takes place after Ocarina of Time. After saving Hyrule, Link goes on a journey to find his companion Navi, when all of a sudden, his horse gets stolen by a Skull Kid. As he chases after him, the Skull Kid turns him into a Deku Scrub. Later on, he finds out that he's been followed by a strange man, who tells Link that the Skull Kid has stolen his mask, called the Majora's Mask, which is a mask that is pure evil. It's up to Link to stop the Skull Kid from making the moon crash onto Termina. Does Link have what it takes to save the world? Find out next time on Dragon. In this game, you have only 3 days until the moon hits, but not to worry, since you can play the Song of Time that will make you go back in time to the first day. So you always have that when needed. Your objective is to complete 4 dungeons and save the giants of Termina, so they can help you stop the moon from falling. Your companion in this game is Tattle, who was one of the fairies that was with the Skull Kid but got abandoned by him, and she just tagged along with Link and realized he was kind of a jerk, and he was pretty mean to my brother. Let's stop him from destroying the world. She's not really a favorite of mine, but she is way better than Navi from Ocarina of Time. Navi just doesn't have a personality, and she keeps stopping you to say things you can figure out by yourself. Tattle will stop you to give you information, but it's not all the time, and I think the information she gives you are pretty important. She also doesn't say, "Hey, look, listen!" She just goes, "Ding ding!" In the main story, you collect these 3 masks, the Deku Mask, the Goron Mask, and the Zora Mask. These masks will give you the ability to transform as that species, and each of them has their own abilities. Deku Link can go into these flowers, which gives him the ability to fly for a limited time. He can also hop on water and shoot these bubble things. Deku Link is definitely the cutest form out of the 3, but is the less interesting. Goron Link gives you the strength of a Goron and has the ability to roll in order for you to go fast and get across edges. And Zora Link grants the ability to swim and breathe underwater, and you can use these scales as boomerangs to kill enemies. You also can use this blue power thing to kill enemies as well. This one is my favorite, mostly because the Zoras are my favorite race in the series. Next, I would like to talk about the bosses. The bosses in this game are not great. The first boss you encounter is Uldual. While his design is pretty cool, he's not really fun to fight. His whole thing is that he attacks with his sword. You use your bow to shoot him and stun him, and then slice him. He also surrounds you with fire and commands bugs to come after you. He's pretty annoying, to be honest. The next boss you encounter is Goat. You have to chase him around the area and hit with your Goron spikes while he shoots lasers at you. Nothing really special or interesting about this boss, since that's all he does. Next is Gyrog, the worst one in this game. You have to stun him with your scales and then go for the kill, but be careful, he will chomp on you. Next is Ikana and his guards. These guys are my second favorite of all the bosses. They're basically the Stoffos from Ocarina of Time, except once they're down, you have to shine your light on them by using your mirror shield. There's also this pretty funny Easter egg where you put on the Bremen mask and play the song, which will make him do this. This is nothing to help you, but it's a pretty funny detail they put in. Ikana will sometimes take his head off and will fly around and try to grab you so his body can attack you, so watch out for that. Twin Mold, the most boring boss in the entire game, where the only thing cool is you get this mask that makes you giant and that's it. You just swing at their weak spots until they die. Like I said, boring. Now onto my favorite boss, the final boss, the Majora's Mask. This boss has 3 faces, the mask, Majora's Incarnation, and Majora's Wrath. The mask pretty much flies around and shoots lasers, or just spins around on the floor. You either can reflect his lasers at him, or shoot him in the back. Incarnation just runs around and you have to catch him. And Wrath just attacks you with his fleshy whips, and jumps around. The boss is pretty difficult unless you have the Fierce Diddy mask, which is a mask you get by collecting all the masks, giving some of these mask-wearing children play their minigames, and then they give them more while they ask you simple philosophical questions. These kids are pretty unsettling. The Fierce Diddy mask is way overpowered. You just swing your sword all willy-nilly and the essence of that sword shoot at the enemy, and takes a lot of damage, so don't even bother getting it if you want the boss to be difficult. Now that we got the bosses out of the way, I would like to talk about my thoughts on the story. I think Majora's Mask's story is one of the best stories in the series, mainly because of its darker themes. I like that it has nothing to do with Hyrule and Ganon, and how the story involves around the world ending in 3 days. The story has some sad stuff in it as well. For example, after rescuing the Deku Princess, the butler will take you to your reward, and you have to catch up with him in order to get there. He then tells you that you remind him of his son that left home and made him remember the days when they used to race each other. You find out later that the forms you take are people that have passed away, and your Deku form is the form of his son. It's really sad. I also really love how mysterious the lore is, like, what is the Majora's Mask? What's the deal with the Happy Mask Salesman? Why is there a grassland inside the moon and that has mask-wearing children that look like the Happy Mask Salesman? And why does this man remember my name and how much rupees I deposit, even though I keep going back in time? The last thing I want to discuss about the story is the whole concept of the moon falling. It's one of my favorite parts of the story because it makes you have feelings of grief, especially hearing the music The Final Hours, which plays when you only have a few minutes when the moon finally lands. I really like the characters' reaction to this happening, and how you feel for these characters, even the ones you don't know much about. Some of them are terrified, some of them don't know what to do, and some of them just wait as they feel like they can't do anything about it. The story is an 8 out of 10 for me. I really like the creepy stuff, the mysteries, and the depressing stuff, and it would be really cool if Nintendo could do something like this again. Next thing I want to talk about are the side quests, mostly the ones that I find interesting. The one I want to talk about first is the Romani Ranch quest. The quest starts with this little girl named Romani who tells you about these creatures who come out at night to capture cows, and she wants your help to stop them. Yeah, there are aliens in this game, which is pretty weird for Zelda, but it kind of works, especially since the setting for this game is dark and mysterious. This part of the quest is intense. That is if you don't slow time like I did. Slowing time makes them slower, so it's easier to not let them get into the barn. After that, during the second night, Romani's sister Crimea asks if you want to ride on her wagon while she delivers milk. She then tells you that she's been running this business ever since her father passed away and tells you about her best friend getting married. Suddenly, the wagon's being attacked by these evil-looking Luigis, and you have to shoot them to stop them from destroying the milk bottles. That's pretty much it for that side quest. Gameplay-wise, it's okay. It's definitely intense since you can actually lose and have to do the whole thing all over again, but it's not really that fun. As for the story, I actually like it. Romani is adorable and always seems to be in a positive mood. She's definitely that must protect at all costs character. As for Crimea, I kinda had a crush on her when I was young, mostly because of her design. I like that she cares for her little sister and that their interactions with each other are kinda cute. If you lose, there are consequences. If you don't stop the aliens, they will not only take the cows, they take Romani. Don't worry, she turned out fine afterwards. Except that she acts kinda weird. I don't know what happened to her. As for Crimea, she's pretty much depressed because, well, her business is over. The cows are gone. If you do rescue the cows, on the final day, Romani tells you that she's going to try this special milk, which she's confused because Crimea told her that she had to be a grown-up in order to drink it. Crimea then tells her that she is a grown-up now. Yeah, pretty much she's giving her alcohol so Romani doesn't have to witness the moon falling. When I said this game is dark and depressing, it is dark and depressing. Something that I found interesting that I never knew about until now is that if you wear a mask, Romani tells you that Crimea has a crush on someone, but that someone is getting married, so she has a hard time going to Clocktown for that reason. Which is pretty interesting and leads me to the next side quest I wanted to discuss, the Cafe and Anju side quest. In this quest, you are looking for a missing person named Cafe. You find out from his fiancée Anju that she's been receiving letters from him and ask you to help find him. You later on find his hideout, and it turns out the Skull Kid turned him into a child, and the reason he's been hiding is because of his mask that he uses for the wedding ceremony has been stolen. You go to the Feed's hideout, help him get the mask by doing this puzzle thing. You wait for him to return to Anju in her room. They propose? I don't know. And they give you a mask that will help you get a piece of heart. All this is going on while the moon is about to fall in 4 minutes. Meaning, this is their last. They do eventually get married in the ending credits, so all is good. The quest is boring. The only thing I like about it is the puzzle part. Everything else sucks, because it's all about waiting. You're just waiting for certain things to happen so you do all the things that you need to do. As for the story, I like it, even though the whole Cafe turning a child adds a bit of weirdness to the story. He does turn back into a doll in the wedding ceremony though, so that part makes it less weird. Anju's part of the story is my favorite part of the story. You feel bad for her. The thought of someone you were planning to marry goes missing sounds terrible. It's even more sad if things don't work out, because she then feels betrayed for trusting him, since he promised he would return at some point. Now I'd like to discuss these two little side quests. Let's start with the Bremen quest. In this one, you have to put on the Bremen mask, play the Bremen march, and get chicks to follow you. Once you collect all of them, they all grow up. Somehow. I like this one because it's pretty cute, and I really like the music Link plays. Next little side quest is, I don't know what to call this. This one, you help this Zora with some sort of rehearsal of some kind, and you go into different spotlights, play a tune, turn into different forms, and pretty much all your forms actually play a song together. You then make a guy at a bar from stubborn to emotional, and he gives you a mask of his face. Yeah, that's pretty weird. This one I find pretty charming. I kind of like the guy at the bar being stubborn, since he's bummed out that his favorite band can't perform at the bar. So it's pretty nice to see him happy afterwards. Now to my least favorite side quest, the Goron Race. This one's straight up annoying. You pretty much have a race with Gorons, and the reason why it's annoying is that it doesn't seem to be all about strategy. It's more luck-based than anything. During this recording, I was almost in first place, and then this Goron shows up and ruins everything! The only strategy that I can think of is that you have to hit some of the Gorons to push them out of the way, but it can backfire. So yeah, maybe I'm wrong about it being luck-based, but either way, it is super annoying. If the award was a piece of heart, I don't think it would be worth it. But the reward is golden dust, which can help you upgrade your sword, so it's totally worth it. That's pretty much all the side quests I want to discuss. There are a few that I haven't talked about, but I don't think they're worth talking about. So, I guess now I can just talk about a part that's probably my favorite in the main story. And that is this part, where you have to save the Zora eggs that have been stolen by the Gerudos. In doing so, you have to sneak into their hideout. What's fun about this is that if you have the stone mask, they won't be able to see you, so you can knock them out by using your sword. I like this one because I like the sneaking parts of the Zelda games, and also because I think the Gerudos are cool. Last thing I haven't talked about is after you complete the game during the ending credits, the more people you help, the more of them will appear in the credits, which is an interesting detail to the game. Overall, Majora's Mask is a great game. Sure, it's got some of its flaws here and there, but it's still fun to play, and has one of the greatest stories in the series. Also, the developers had only 9 months to finish it, which is impressive. Even though they used most of the assets of Ocarina of Time, I'm so impressed that they managed to add a lot of detail to the story, the 3-day system, and even add new characters and music. I'll give this game an 8 out of 10. I would recommend trying this game out, but I have the feeling that this generation wouldn't be interested in it, and I feel like that my opinions about it is coming from a nostalgic point of view. But if you are interested in it, it's on the Wii U eShop. You can also get it with a subscription from the Switch Online service, if you're willing to pay that much for an N64 games. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.